I think employment is really important.
I feel like I put a lot of work into developing my career.
Basically, something to do day in and day out that makes you a contributing member of society, that makes you feel productive.
Work, jobs, careers. Employment is often tied up in our sense of self and how we define ourselves. But what happens when a global pandemic disrupts pretty much everything?
First of all, I wanted to literally be in my house 24/7 and not go anywhere because, you worry about catching COVID-19.
Like I had nothing to do, everything was closing.
It affects employment, it affects family dinners, friendships.
And during recovery, how do people with disabilities make sure we're not left behind?
You just don't know exactly what the market's going to be like, and you know that a lot of different industries are impacted.
We went from 71 to 1 employee in one day.
And it's hard. It's depressing, and it's really hard on you.
I'm Grant Hardy, and this is Working It Out: Disability, Employment, and COVID-19.
I'm working at the moment at Coquitlam Centre Mall. So we are guest services, and that's a very public job. So I've actually been off since March. My name is Jessica Clavo, and I have cerebral palsy. So I use a chair to get around.
Physical retail spaces were some of the hardest hit during spring of 2020. Malls, like the one that Jessica worked at, dramatically cut their workforce to adjust to the drop in traffic as people stayed home to keep safe.
Part of the reason was because they had to actually figure out how to keep us safe and employed in amongst the COVID-19 pandemic. So they have slowly adjusted, but at this moment, I am still off. Well, obviously, at times it can be frustrating because I've worked so hard to actually get to an employment place where I'm comfortable and happy and actually like doing my job. But as we all know, I do have a disability. So I always think, what if, for some reason, they're not able to accommodate my needs? I am a little bit, I would say, frightened that perhaps my job will have to be terminated for safety reasons or for something else, and then I'm back to square one. It took me a long time to find a job that actually fit my needs and gave me what I needed in order to be able to function, at a certain level so that I stayed healthy. So I do worry about trying to find that again amongst a pandemic. It's scary. It's scary.
I would consider myself a decently social person, extroverted for sure. My name's Nate Schwartz, and I have cerebral palsy. I'm ambulatory, so I can walk and move around. So I actually was working for Camosun College, and I was kind of in their accessible learning department, helping students take kind of more accessible exams and stuff like that. But then when the pandemic hit, post-secondary especially, but school in general, I kind of had to take a hit. I won't even call it pause, but just kind of reevaluate how they delivered education.
Without a job, Nate found himself looking for things to do.
I don't think we can ever complain again that we didn't have time to do something. I've been doing quarantine workouts, and I was pretty good for the first 4 months, and I don't know what month we're at now, but just trying to keep it going, but it's been a bit of a struggle. In a way, I think pretty much everyone is affected by this. So knowing that we're all kind of in the same boat, there's a little bit of solace one can take with that for sure.
I didn't work directly in the airport, but I worked in a building close to the airport, which was close to the south runway. So it was cool being able to see the airplanes taking off and landing. My name's Amelia Cooper, and I have brittle bone disease, or osteogenesis imperfecta. So I worked at the Vancouver International Airport as a Geographic Information System Specialist. We call it GIS. I managed data and did mapping for the whole entire airport.
Airlines and airports were frontline casualties of the pandemic. As travelers stayed home, airports like YVR in Vancouver were forced to reduce staff.
I didn't think they'd lay me off because I thought my job at the airport was somewhat important, and also because I was a person with a disability. I didn't think that they'd want to reduce their amount of diversity. But unfortunately, I did end up getting laid off because I had a lack of seniority.
It's a catch-22. Many people from marginalized groups tend to be more recent hires, so when layoffs come around, they also are often the first let go.
People who like people with disabilities, who are trying to build their seniority with work, trying to get more work experience, end up being cut off, and so it limits their ability to get the work experience that they need, right? So I think that's a major issue, and also people with disabilities have such a hard time finding jobs in the first place. If they get laid off, the difficulty of getting a new job is going to be really hard, right?
I'm very much of an extrovert, so I don't like being alone too much. My name is Shane Gebelt. I have cerebral palsy, which is a physical disability. I'm from South Africa. I moved here when I was about 6 years old, and now I currently work at the North Shore Disability Resource Center, doing after-school care for those with developmental disabilities such as autism and Down syndrome.
These days, Shane has a little too much time for his hobbies like gaming and technology, as Shane's job was a casualty of the pandemic.
My boss to email the staff, including me, and basically informed us that spring break camps were canceled. We were told that now our after-school programming, which we did after spring break, was now canceled until further notice. And they paid us, which was really nice. They paid us our regular wage for about a month and a half before they told us that we were no longer paying you, and I had to collect some. It sucks. It really sucks. Especially now, trying to go back, it's incredibly difficult. Now that I got cleared to go back, they don't have any of the programs I was working in, so I've had to apply for different opportunities, and it sucks having to go through the interview process, all this stuff as a new employee, even though I've been working there for 3 years. It's kind of an odd experience. Honestly, I don't get it. I really don't get it.
Coming up, we'll hear from businesses and employers struggling to survive this pandemic when we return to Working It Out, Disability, Employment, and COVID-19. You're watching Working It Out, Disability, Employment, and COVID-19. The unprecedented economic devastation from COVID-19 has hit businesses hard, and employers that work with the disability community are no exception, as they struggle to adopt new safety protocols, create opportunities, retain their employees, and even just keep the lights on.
We kind of let it be known that we wanted this to be a space that would create opportunities for as individuals on the autism spectrum. My name is Lisa Beecroft. I'm the co-owner of Gabby and Jules Handmade Pies and Baked Goodness here in Port Moody. We decided to start making pies, and we were selling them at the local farmers market. Then we had the opportunity to build a bakery also in Port Moody that was going to be Gabby and Jules. And Gabby and Jules is named after our daughters, Gabriella and Juliana, and our eldest daughter Juliana is on the autism spectrum. So part of what we wanted to do when we were building this space is create an inclusive environment for individuals on the spectrum to find purpose and meaningful employment. Prior to COVID, about 35% of our workforce were represented by individuals with disabilities.
When the first wave of the pandemic hit, customers stayed home and businesses like Lisa's felt the impact immediately.
You know, for my husband and I, our businesses are all that we have. We have no other, income. Everything, we rely on these businesses to pay for our kids and our family and our mortgage. And so it's very scary when all of that is called into question. And, you're trying to anticipate something that no one has a roadmap for. And so it was very difficult. It was, we went from 71 to 1 employee in one day. So that's a pretty horrible day in my life to have to call 70 employees and let them know that we were going to have to lay them off. Not knowing what that was going to look like, we had to shut down our cafes for about a month. Very quickly, we saw that we could adapt our operation to just pickups and deliveries. And so we went to that where we were essentially closed every day, but open 3 days a week. We were very quickly able to hire people back. So within a week and a half, we started to bring our team here at Gabby and Jules slowly back on board.
Lisa is still touched when she remembers the support from her staff.
They were so kind and understanding. They could appreciate the challenge that we were facing and the unknown. And they were just hopeful that we would be able to, come through the other side and be able to bring them back.
The change in business model from sit-in to take-out only meant that many of the cafe's positions were no longer available.
We had to make really informed business decisions, and so I've always made the point that we provide meaningful employment opportunities. It's not a tokenism sort of situation. So if people need to kind of earn their roles in a sense, but unfortunately the opportunities to do that have diminished, unfortunately, and what we've seen. And so I continue to struggle to look at the problem from different angles to continue to find opportunities. We are very passionate about being an inclusive employer. It's central to what we do here. And I think by recognizing the fact that we're struggling to do it, it hopefully shines a light on the fact that we need to continue to have these conversations. The government is going to need to engage on this in a way that they can support employers to continue to find ways to be inclusive.
My main concern for the pandemic was, I guess, the economy and my employment and everybody else's employment. My name is Hayden, and I have autism.
Hayden Leonardo spends his days traveling on foot and transit as a courier for Toronto's Good Foot Delivery, a social enterprise that hires neurodiverse employees. COVID-19 forced the business to shut down for 4 months and adapt in order to survive the pandemic.
I was not having my regular routine and not being able to go out and do the things I want to do outside of work. And also it took kind of a physical toll on me because I was doing a lot of walking every day. I was walking on average 8 to 10 kilometers, and I really felt it physically. I was in a lot of pain, not walking.
Hi, Good Foot Delivery. COVID hit us to the core. There's no doubt about that. I'm Barb Willett, Managing Director of Good Foot Delivery Services. We started again mid-July. We had to put a lot of planning into how we would go about that, look at changing some of our protocols and processes to keep both our couriers and our customers safe. And in the end, we did lose about 60% of our top 50 customers. We are still well below our pre-COVID delivery volume. And at this point, we don't know when we will achieve those levels again, and if we will. We currently have, out of our team of couriers, about 40% have returned to work. The others are not quite ready to do so for a variety of reasons, all related to COVID. We put in different protocols so that our customers could experience contactless deliveries that would protect both the customer and our courier. Similarly, we do different contactless pickups. And then we provided a very comprehensive training program for the couriers with respect to how to navigate TTC, how to navigate contactless deliveries and pickups, and also the personal protective equipment. And then our dispatch coordinators, they remain in contact with our couriers throughout the day. So if there are issues trying to navigate a pickup or a drop-off because protocols are different. What do I do at this place? The concierge isn't here. I'm supposed to leave the package with the concierge. So how do we navigate that?
Hayden has adapted to the changes in stride.
One of the best things about the situation is there's less people around, so I'm less anxious having to deal with lots of people on transit or lots of people trying to navigate through buildings in downtown Toronto or just generally getting around. I guess really I'm just happy to have a job, finding a place where I feel like I fit in and I'm not overwhelmed by being pushed a lot. With Goodfoot, I'm able to go out by myself and work and make my own decisions and do as I see fit to get the job done.
Whatever the job sector, it's fair to say almost everyone has been touched by the pandemic. But the effects go far beyond the paycheck. After the break, we talk about one of the hardest aspects of the virus, social isolation, when we return to Working It Out, Disability, Employment, and COVID-19. Welcome back to Working It Out, Disability, Employment, and COVID-19. If there's one thing that defines being human, it's that we can always come together, especially during challenging times. Except now, we can't. The pandemic has disrupted basic and essential human interactions, leaving many feeling alone.
As time went on, I started feeling really bored and really lonely.
And that applies especially to people with disabilities. Shane DeWilt.
I'm very much of an extrovert, so I don't like being alone too much. And I found myself to be very cut off from everything, I guess. There's nothing much I can do, honestly, except try to stay positive and tell myself that things will eventually get back to normal.
I was having to stay inside a lot, which I wasn't very used to. So I think it kind of affected my psyche a bit.
Amelia Cooper.
I'm not much of an introvert, so I do need to say hi to people and stuff sometimes. I have been doing workshops and meetings on Zoom, so I get to talk to people through that. I've also had church meetings on Zoom, and I joined a sewing group on Zoom. So being able to talk to people that way has been really helpful.
I'm pretty extroverted, I'm pretty social. I like to get out and be pretty active, and this was kind of an abrupt halt to all of that.
Nate Schwartz.
You just kind of find different ways to cope as best you can, and I know for myself when I'm not able to see kind of family or friends, I try not to hesitate to shoot them a text or pick up the phone or say, when could we do a Zoom call or a video conferencing call to just stay in touch, and I think that's been great.
I live alone, so I am on my own, and I don't even have a pet. So I had to figure out how to keep myself basically sane.
Jessica Claveau.
The isolation was very hard on me just because I didn't feel the energy of having people around. I guess some of the hobbies that I've had in the past, I've been able to bring to the forefront. So actually video games have actually been a godsend at times. You know, it actually allows me to completely absorb myself into something. Never know how much I love you. Never know how much I care. I decided to do some singing lessons, and that was one good thing of the COVID-19 thing, because I would have never had the time to actually focus on something that I love to do. I've actually cooked a lot more. So all the times where I'm like, oh, I should do that recipe. Okay, well, maybe I'll try it. I mean, it is a challenge for me to do those types of things, and it always takes me a little longer. But because I have more time, why not?
Recognizing the dangers of social isolation, some disability organizations created new initiatives specifically designed to help people feel connected and engaged. Organizations like the Richmond Center for Disability. Dave Thompson is the Community Outreach Coordinator. We spoke via video chat.
We tried to just take the programs that we had and adapt them to the Zoom platform or the virtual platform. What we have right now is called a recreation package. So we have something going on every single day. There's an hour of programming every single day that's for most of the members in the general public that has some benefit. We do relaxation and meditation on Mondays. On Tuesdays we have social games. So we play games through the net. On Wednesday, my new baby is called the Wellness Connection. One of my big things that I'm trying to teach with a lot of people now is this resilience is my new big favorite word. And we're just trying to get our people more resilient so that they have less to rely on other people to help them if they do have to lock down. We have a live event on Thursdays, every Thursday at 1, where we do something called Get Good At, and it's a 15-minute program. And then Fridays we have our fun exercise. And we're also doing a TED Talk forum where we're listening to small TED Talks and then sort of discussing it.
The pandemic brought with it a general discussion around mental health, as pretty much everyone felt its impact. For Dave, it's a struggle that's all too familiar, which is why he's passionate about addressing it head on.
Now that people have realized that when they've been at home and they've been stuck in their pajamas for 2 weeks at a time and whatnot else, they're like, wow, we really do have to. There is no, suck it up, buddy, or be a man, or, no pain, no gain anymore, right? This definitely has an effect when you don't have the energy to get out of bed. And so I think people just recognizing it as the same significance as if you had broken your ankle or if you had a physical ailment, and giving it the respect that it requires.
Support organizations like the Richmond Center for Disability assist their community in many ways, including employment. Coming up after the break, we examine how employers and organizations have adapted to the changing workplace during the pandemic. When we return to Working It Out, Disability, Employment, and COVID-19. You're watching Working It Out, Disability, Employment, and COVID-19. It's the law of nature. Adapt to survive. It also applies in business. The pandemic forced many companies to move quickly and adapt to changing circumstances. It's hard to believe that simple things like shaking hands and sharing desks have become taboo and dangerous. For some companies, although the way they work may have changed, the importance of inclusion hasn't.
There's a general buzz in the call center, and that buzz kind of gives you energy, and it's kind of a nice feeling to be working with a lot of people around. I mean, we're doing it virtually now, but it's not quite the same. My name is Greg Labine, and I work at Van City Credit Union in Vancouver, BC. What my disability is muscular dystrophy, and I use a power wheelchair most of the time. I really love Van City. I love where I am right now. I feel like it's a good fit for me.
Like most of Van City's staff these days, Greg helps clients from his home.
I just enjoy being at home, and my wife also works for Van City, so she's working in the office next to, right next to me in the room there on her computer, and we both kind of bounce things off each other throughout the day. And so I do have a little bit of that social aspect, connecting with a colleague, which happens to be my wife. And so it's really cool. I'm enjoying working from home.
But when you're in the business of dealing with people's finances, privacy and security are paramount, even at home.
Anything written down, any card numbers or any personal contact information or anything at all, you have to shred it, you have to get rid of it, make sure that it's not legible when you're discarding it. And also, one thing I do is try to keep my voice low when I'm on the phones, like in the summer, especially when the windows are open, because there's people in the suite next to me. And I know we're talking about banking information, we're talking about people's personal information. So you just have to keep your voice low and not shout it out, and just overall respect privacy like that.
He is very, very flexible during this time of COVID, able to adapt to changing situations. He provides great role modeling for other folks in the organization and mentorship. My name is Cheryl Reese, and I am the Director of Diversity and Inclusion for Van City. Our team focuses on 3 key objectives. The first one being around building a diverse workforce. So we work closely with our recruitment teams to look for talent that reflects our communities and our members. The second part of work that we focus on is on supporting the organization with cultivating an inclusive workplace culture. And then finally, we look at how we can gain better insight into the communities that we serve by engaging with employees of diverse abilities to gather input and feedback on how we can improve the employee experience or the member experience.
According to Cheryl, even with the disruption of the pandemic, the business case is clear. A diverse workforce is important.
There has been so much research of late, whether it be through Accenture or McKinsey or Harvard Business Review, that builds a very strong case to suggest that teams that are diverse, and most importantly, teams that are inclusive, generate really, really good outcomes for organizations. When you think about achieving business results or any kind of organizational outcomes, teams that are diverse are going to think differently. They're going to approach problems differently. They're going to be more innovative. They're going to find different ways of mitigating risks because everyone has a different lived experience. So diversity is very important for our organization, and I think it's a very important opportunity for all organizations to leverage.
SAP is a tech company, and tech companies, they rely on innovation. And as such, we really depend upon getting talent that bring very, very unique abilities and perspectives to the table. My name is Heike. I'm heading up HR here for SAP Canada, and we are in our beautiful Vancouver office where I'm also located. SAP is the world's largest provider of enterprise application software, so we have grown very, very big. We have 100,000 employees across the world. We are present in more or less every country across the world. And companies run our products for their business processes.
Aiming to be a more inclusive employer, SAP was one of the first companies in Canada to launch an initiative to hire people on the autism spectrum.
We provide them with training, with an external coach, but also with an internal mentor. But we also put a lot of emphasis on training our managers and the team, of course, who play a vital role in making everyone successful. And ultimately, having an inclusive environment totally pays off. We know it results in higher people engagement, and also it results in lower attrition. SAP has very diverse customers. And these customers also want to see this diversity here in our workforce. So when they partner with SAP, they want to know that we are also truly diverse. So really highly inclusive organizations, they do have 6 times higher innovative skills than others who are not so inclusive. And again, they typically outperform on financial metrics and on people engagement. So many, many good reasons to strive for this inclusive environment.
These days, SAP's office in Vancouver is mostly empty, with most of their staff working from home, which for a tech company like SAP is a smoother transition than for others.
I mean, the pandemic really accelerates this whole topic of digitalization. And companies now really realize it is an imperative for them to move their business model and their business processes into the digital world and to really transform. And that, of course, is good for us at SAP. Nevertheless, it is a challenging environment. From an economic perspective, there's no doubt about it.
I think outside the service sector, I am encouraged to see the doors that are opening, and I think will continue to open as employers become more open to the idea of remote working.
Lisa Beecroft worries that for businesses operating in the service sector, like her bakery, Gabby and Jules, adapting to COVID-19 presents additional challenges.
Everyone that I've spoken to who have worked or managed or run traditional office spaces are really rethinking what that's going to look like. My fear is that those jobs may not necessarily be the best fit for some of the folks that have been impacted by the downturn in the service sector.
For Shane DeWilt, going back to working with kids without access to indoor spaces and staff is a real concern.
A lot of the guys we work with have behavior issues, and so if I was one-to-one in the community, I would have no support from anyone because I'm not allowed back in the office with that kiddo. So I'm not able to have any support from my bosses or superiors.
Returning to work at the mall also presents hurdles for Jessica Claveau.
At the moment, they have said that they do want me to come back to work, but unfortunately I've met a roadblock because the pandemic precautions that they took don't necessarily accommodate my disability at the moment. So they're trying to figure out how they can both keep me safe and accommodate to my needs.
And Jessica isn't alone. Workplace accessibility issues are fairly common, and it can take a third party to help bridge the gap. Neil Squire is one organization that facilitates inclusive employment opportunities. Gilbert Sue is the senior case manager for the Working Together program. We spoke via video chat.
No one should really be working without accommodations they need. And a lot of times clients are a little reluctant to share about their disability. And that's kind of what we're here to do. We help that conversation go along. We do tailor a lot of our workshops based on the individual's needs. So for instance, we do kind of touch on assistive technology, ergonomic support. And when I present our clients to employers, I definitely bring up accommodations as part of the conversation.
With the economy in turmoil due to the pandemic, finding work has become even more challenging.
Now you have to be a lot more resourceful than before. We encourage people to set up information interviews, again, attending our information sessions just to kind of get some face time with employers. Volunteering is another key thing, if that's something they can do from home safely or in a location that's COVID safe. So a lot of these small things that we've encouraged in the past, this is not news, but now it's not so much nice to do, it's almost a requirement to get your foot through the door and just kind of stand out from the hundreds and hundreds of resumes that are coming from other people. that have lost their jobs during COVID.
You just don't know exactly what the market's going to be like, and you know that a lot of different industries are impacted, so who knows who's going to be hiring in terms of the whole kind of remote work or working from home. How fast are different industries or companies going to be able to adjust?
After losing his university job, Nate turned to Neil Squire for help with the job hunt.
I have a fair amount of work experience, but we did a lot of talking about career exploration as much as the job search. So yeah, they were great about kind of working with me in terms of exploring things maybe I hadn't thought of, and then helping me find job opportunities, helping me with the kind of resume and cover letter side of things. And I know if anyone out there has done any of that recently, it can be pretty daunting, challenging, and even a bit tedious at times. So it's nice to have that support there. There's a lot of systemic challenges or kind of overarching challenges that people with disabilities might face in terms of getting into the job market. Maybe they do need additional technology support or different supports, or kind of a more tailored approach to job search. So I think that having kind of the support that Neil Squire provides is definitely beneficial.
And for Nate, the support definitely paid off.
I work for a company called Descriptive Video Works, and they provide audio description for different kind of TV, movies, and that sort of thing. And basically, I'm an administrative assistant, so I help a lot with kind of various admin tasks, different project management type stuff, and things like that. Yeah, and it's been great so far. I'm able to work from home, and they've been really supportive, and I definitely love the people I'm working with.
COVID-19 has disrupted our lives immeasurably. But if there's a silver lining, it's the dawn of an era for new, flexible working arrangements that could benefit employees with disabilities. Coming up, when we return to Working It Out, Disability, Employment, and COVID-19. This is Working It Out, Disability, Employment, and COVID-19. There are many sayings that link times of crisis with opportunity, and although it's hard to imagine this pandemic having a silver lining, advocates for flexible working arrangements are envisioning just that. Nate Schwartz certainly sees the advantages to the new ways of working.
It's kind of leveling the playing field, right? We're taking away the kind of Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 ideal and saying, you know what, as long as you get the job done, we don't really care how you do it.
As Cheryl says, the crisis has proven that if there's a will, there's a way.
There is great opportunity as a result of this. Employers have learned that people working from home are very, very productive, and organizations know that their technology infrastructure can support people working from home. And there are great tools to help folks stay connected and collaborate when working from home.
According to Heike, it's important to remember that the emphasis should be on the flexibility.
It works really well for some, whereas it doesn't work so well for others. Take, for example, colleagues who sit in a wheelchair. For them, at the moment, they don't have to commute. And that, of course, makes it quite easy for them. So I think that is clearly an advantage. But there will be other colleagues who really thrive on this, let's say, social interaction and really need that to perform very successfully and to be at ease and to feel good and safe. And they, of course, lack these miss these personal touch points in the office that at the moment simply are not possible. So I think all in all, there is no one size fits all here. There will be folks who will really fully benefit from this flexibility also going forward once we get out of this pandemic. And there will others who say, well, I don't want this flexibility. I don't need it. That's not for me. So again, not one size fits all.
For Barb and Good Foot Delivery, the lack of in-person interaction is especially tough on their couriers.
Individuals from the neurodiverse community have a real need for social connection and social interaction. So COVID's been very, very challenging. What our staff have done is we've worked really hard to connect regularly with couriers. We make sure we call each one, or at least during the suspended period, we made sure we called each courier at least once a week, sometimes more. We offered a variety of virtual events. So we hosted games, informal drop-ins, yoga and physical activity sessions, so that there was a level of activity, engagement, and connection, because those are all fundamentally important to everyone, and as I said, in particular to this community. There is a silver lining in there, and there's some real benefits and advantages into how our economy and our workplace is shifting. But I think we cannot forsake the importance of physical community and connections.
Gilbert is worried that the shift to remote work could further exacerbate the digital divide.
If you don't have a computer and you don't have an internet connection that's reliable, it's hard to even get that first step out of the way, like finding job postings, connecting with our program, doing the workshops online. So yeah, there is a little bit of a silver lining, but it's not, the job market's changed, and it's not treating everyone the same way.
For Amelia, it's important that people with disabilities aren't left behind when talk of recovery turns into action.
With the government having to re-budget everything because of all the money that's being put towards COVID stuff, I'm hoping that the government will still consider putting money into helping people with disabilities and their employment. I've tried to advocate through different political members that I know of, and writing emails to them, telling them about different issues, or just sending an email or a letter about your concerns is really helpful. I feel like I put a lot of work into developing my career, and also not have to depend on disability income for the rest of my life. Not that that's a bad thing, but I still want to be able to depend on my own income,
Even if Shane returns to his job, he wonders about what comes next.
I was feeling very unmotivated before finding the job I'm in now, which is quite scary for me, because I'm now wondering, how do I get from this job to my next? And that's my next question, is how can I feel like I mean something to an organization or to a company?
According to Jessica, fighting systematic barriers, biases, and ignorance means learning to be a self-advocate.
I know that a lot of people do have challenges with advocating for themselves. It was one thing that I had to learn to get over, is being able to talk about yourself in a positive aspect and being able to feel that I actually had something to contribute. But if you have access to any kind of services you need, to actually use those services as much as possible, and to make sure that people realize that just because the pandemic has happened doesn't mean that we've went away.
For Nate, attitude and resilience is also helpful and important.
It doesn't matter if you have a disability or not. The majority of job interviews you go on, or at least, I don't know, I haven't met anyone that's pretty much gotten every job they've ever interviewed for. That's pretty rare. But just knowing that you more than likely won't get every job you apply for. So not to get too down if that's the case, right? Fit is so important. And hopefully you can find a job that is a fit for you and the employer as well. So yeah, just being aware of the fact that, keep applying for jobs that you love, but don't get too down if it doesn't work out. You just have to kind of keep going. I know it sounds kind of cheesy, but that's really the only way.
It is undisputed. Tapping into the productivity of an underemployed and marginalized group benefits the entire economy, but there's more at stake than numbers and statistics. Each meaningful job impacts individuals and the community profoundly. It's not just dollars and cents, it's about mental health, identity, and belonging. For me, for you, and for the society we want to build. Host Grant Hardy. Producer-director Amit Tandon, videographer-editor Sergio Vera-Barahona, media accessibility specialist Ron Rickford, audio producer, composer, and engineer Mike Monson, graphics Mike Smith, senior producer Michelle Dudas, president and CEO David Arrington, copyright 2020 Accessible Media Incorporated.